Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name's Ruby. I'm the director of the Feed Real Institute. And today we've got two very special guests. We are here with Charisa and Carmina from CocoTherapy. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, thanks
Hi,
for having
Ruby.
us.
Of course, we're very, very excited to have you on today. We're going to be talking about CocoTherapy. We're going to be talking about coconut oil and MCT oil, what the benefits are for our pets. I think this is a really interesting topic because coconut oil seems like something that is so prevalent in both culinary uses, but a lot of interest in the pet world, but people don't really know what it is or how to use it. So I think it's going to be a good topic for today.
Yeah, we're excited to tell people about it.
Yeah, for sure. CocoTherapy is one of our partners for the Feed Real Summit this October here in San Diego. The summit is sold out, but we are actively
Cool.
collecting emails for a wait list because there are going to be a few tickets available that are courtesy of our partners giving them back. So if you guys are tuning in today, we're going to do the same lives that we always do. So we'll go to chat for about 20 to 30 minutes, and we welcome you to drop any questions you have for CocoTherapy in the comments. We'll do a quick Q&A in the end, but if you drop comments while we're chatting, we'll make sure that we wrap that into our conversation. For those that are tuned in, I would love to know where you are joining from. I'm in San Diego, and you guys are in
A suburb west of Chicago.
Chicago. So what's the
Yeah.
weather like right now?
It's beautiful right now.
Oh my gosh.
Can't complain.
It's
Yeah.
75 degrees.
Well,
sunny.
we had a heat wave like the past few days, but now it's just perfect. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. I've been hearing a lot of complaints about the humidity a little further east of
Yeah.
you. And I'm always like, well, wait till you come to San Diego in October. You're going to love it.
Right.
Oh gosh,
And
can't wait.
We're used to humidity. We're tropical girls. What's humidity?
Yeah.
That's right. Were you guys born in the Philippines and came here later?
Yeah.
We were born there, but we left when we were 4. We traveled all over the world because of my dad's job.
So we lived in Africa and we lived in South America, and then we came here to the States like in the early 90s.
Awesome. And your facility is in the Philippines, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, we have a facility in the Philippines. We do have one older sister. She lives there. So she kind of runs the business over there. It's a family business. So like Chris and I, we go back every other year. We take turns. So we're there every like January, February.
Yeah, for 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yep.
And the winter here. So it's beautiful
so we're
there.
flying over there when it's great, when the weather's great in January.
Yes. Yeah. We were chatting a little bit about that before we went live. Hopefully I'll run into one of you this coming January when we go. Who's going this coming January?
I'm going.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going. Yeah, maybe we can hook up or something.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That
Very,
would.
very cool. All right. Well, it looks like we have people tuning in from all over. We have Dee from North Florida, Sonia from Woodstock, New York, Lexington, Kentucky, Nashville, Montana, West Virginia, Ohio.
Wow.
Any chance you can ship to Australia? That's a good question.
Yes, they'd have to order, they'd have to email us. They can't do it via the website online, and we will ship USPS. But right now in Australia, we can't ship any meat treats. It would be all our vegan and all the coconut oil. So yes, definitely.
Oh, awesome. Well, look at that. Yeah, that's right, you guys. Make sure you're dropping all those questions into the comments because we've got a nice crowd and audience today. All right, so let's sort of jump into it. How did you guys start CocoTherapy? What's the story behind it all?
Okay, I'll start, I guess. Well, we've been in the coconut industry for 3 generations. So being originally from the Philippines, coconut oil is a huge part of our diet and our staple. Everybody uses it for food and for medicine. So we have a coconut farm and facility. When we were little kids growing up, we used to watch my grandma make coconut oil in her kitchen. And she did it the old-fashioned way, cold press, grating it. It was a lot of work, but she was very meticulous. So that's 3 generations of coconut oil making and coconut products. However, CocoTherapy started in 2009. So yeah, so 2009 is when we started CocoTherapy. Yeah, because of our little dog called Violet. We had a Yorkie called Violet.
Yeah. So growing up around coconut oil, you know how you tend to sort of take things for granted. What your grandmother, she used it on us for everything, head lice, you know, if we had a scratch or acne or whatever, or pimple, she'd put coconut oil on it. And we took it for granted. And then one day I got a Yorkie named Violet. We were here in the United States, and she was born with a really compromised immune system, and she had really bad allergies, something I did not know about. And when she was not even a year old, I took her to a vet who gave her prednisone. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that every time I would wean her off the pred, she'd start itching and scratching again. Yeah, I was heartbroken because here was my perfect little 1-year-old Yorkie with, you know, I wanted her hair to grow long and all that. And she was just red and scratching and biting. So we found this wonderful, wonderful integrative vet. We would drive almost 2-3 hours to go see her. This vet called Dr. Karen Becker, and which we knew nothing about
before she was
Bourbonnais,
famous.
Illinois.
Yeah,
this was literally just a blessing.
Yes,
the way stars aligned. So we would drive to her, and instantly we knew there was something different. And she told us about fixing her immune system, her diet, her food. You know, changed everything and cleaned it up. And then she says, you know, for her immune system.
What did she change? What did you switch to diet? We're a food company, so I got to know.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
back then we were, you know, into kibble. You know what? I mean, we didn't know any better, so we'd feed kibble, sometimes canned. I was into Iams Eukanuba, the cute little pink bag.
I was so happy. There was a picture of a Yorkie on it. I knew that we were doing the very best.
We thought it was the best food in the world. So when we met her, she opened her eyes to fresh food. Meaning, I mean, we weren't so much into raw then. I think we were kind of scared
afraid of it at first.
We were scared. And then her husband gave her a book.
He didn't know it was about raw. It was on raw feeding for dogs. It was.
He didn't realize what it was. He just thought it was a book about dogs. You know,
so he bought it on Amazon and gave it to me for my birthday. I read it. To my horror, it was all about raw food. You go buy the blender and you crush it. I was horrified. I thought these people were crazy. Like, why would they do this?
We were terrified.
But little by little, then we met Karen Becker, and she just told, let's go to fresh food. I think we moved on to freeze dried. You know, you can handle that a little bit. It's raw, but it's freeze dried. You add the water. So, and we saw a lot of improvement, yet we had to fix her immune system.
She was inherently
bad. So we gave her a lot of natural supplements, and one of them was coconut oil.
She told us, add coconut oil to her diet. It helps with inflammation. It helps regulate the immune system.
Medium chain fats.
Grace and I were like, oh my gosh, like my grandma used to tell us that and give that to her dogs and to us. So we were kind of freaked out, like, wow, my grandma was right. And
so you were just giving it orally. At this point, you weren't applying it topically at all to her.
No. Well, at this point, and I hate to say this, even though we knew its health benefits and we gave it to our dogs in the Philippines, we didn't really give it to our dogs here because
when we came to the US,
because we thought they're eating Eukanuba or, you know, a balanced, healthy kibble, which we thought, because you couldn't get that food in the Philippines. It was expensive. So we thought that's the best food in the world. American food, kibble. So we didn't give any of that natural, healthy supplements.
You know, in hindsight, in the Philippines, most people make their dog food. With scraps of meat. We did. Our dogs were so healthy. My goodness. We took them to the vet.
In fact, Barbie, this Yorkie, came from the Philippines.
When
we moved to the US and in the early 90s, we brought 2 dogs with us. We brought a Cocker Spaniel and a Yorkie. This is before we were in CocoTherapy, before we had our pet business. And we brought them with us. They used to eat fresh diet. Because in the Philippines, you don't buy kibble or things. It's too expensive.
We just cooked it.
We made homemade food with them. And then our vet would give us, you know, supplements and, you know, fish oil.
And then, you know what?
Then coconut oil even, you know, because we grew up with that.
But then when
isn't it just so crazy though that there is this sort of disconnect of what we were doing before? My partner Turks kind of has a similar story. Growing up in Turkey, his dad would send him to the butcher to pick up raw meat and bones to feed all of the dogs. And it was like, whatever table scraps is left
Yep,
over.
yep.
And the same thing, buying kibble was really expensive. So when he came to the US, it was like, well, it's expensive for a reason. So, we should buy it. That's what we should do. And somehow we just shift without even think about it. And now look at us, 10, 20 years later, we're back to what we were doing before.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. The 2 dogs we brought from the Philippines, our Yorkie then and our Cocker Spaniel, they were on fresh foods. When we came here, we went straight to the grocery and bought the best kibble we thought at that time, which was at this time was pedigree. At that time,
pedigree and you can.
And we thought, oh my goodness, look at this beautiful dog pictures, and there was a Yorkie there too. I remember. So instantly, Pele, our Cocker Spaniel, got colitis when he got mucus in his stool.
Severe colitis.
Barbie started itching and had horrible allergies to the end. We didn't know why, but we would go to the vet and do all sorts of things. And we went to Hill Science Diet, prescription diet, WD, you name it. We did it all until they passed. Violet was my next Yorkie after Barbie. I was still ignorant at that time.
Yeah.
So that's when we met Karen Becker. And then we learned about the fresh diet.
Yes.
And then she told us about coconut oil, and we're like, oh my gosh. I saw a comment there, Grandma is always right, said Lori. And it's true.
It's just so true.
No, that is a very true statement. So we had coconut oil that we would bring from the Philippines.
Because it was ours that we would,
we take it very seriously. Yeah. So we started giving it to my dog, Violet. And little by little, we were able to wean her off pred completely. Her hair grew long, and it was just a story. We're like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is when we ran out of our coconut oil and we would go to the grocery store to buy the ones you would see in the grocery, cooking grade, the benefits were there, but it was not exactly the same.
It wasn't.
Like somehow, some of the itchy will come back, a little bit of the yeast. She had yeast issues.
And it even gave her diarrhea sometimes. Yeah. We're like, wait a minute,
something's
she's used
different
to coconut oil. Why is she getting runny diarrhea? Yeah. Or, she's starting to scratch again.
So we wrote to my uncle, our family, back home, and I thought, what's the difference? How come? Can somebody send us more coconut oil?
We're giving her stuff here. The States isn't working.
Yes,
so we need it from our farm.
Yeah. So then that's when we started to learn. Our eyes really opened to the different kinds of coconut oil, how you make it. It's almost like olive oil. You can get a $22 bottle of olive oil. You can get a $2 bottle. So there is something different, and you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So,
and what was it? What's different? I'm like,
well, okay. So the main difference in when you want to buy coconut oil, you want to make sure the 3 main beneficial medium chain fats are in high levels, which is lauric acid, caprylic acid, and capric acid. Those are the 3 main medium fats that you want in coconut oil. But unfortunately, depending on how the oil is made, what it's for, how, what it's used, those medium chain triglycerides vary. So you can get coconut oil. I mean, they consider it in the Philippines. They would consider it cosmetic grade. It's RBD, which means refined, bleach, and deodorized. It's cosmetic grade. They put it in shampoo, soap, and stuff like that. I mean, you could even cook with it, but it's refined, so you don't really want to. It doesn't have high levels of lauric acid. I mean, they're not using it for therapeutic reasons, so it's not that concerning. Then they have a therapeutic grade oil, which is the opposite end of the spectrum, which is what we found out was what our family farm focused on, meaning it's therapeutic because we focus on making it with high levels of lauric acid, caprylic, and capric acid.
And is that something we can see on a label? Would that be listed? Okay.
It does. Well, actually, if you go to a grocery store and you get coconut oil from the grocery store and you look at the label, the guaranteed analysis, they won't list the medium chain fats in it. They won't, because it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You're going to cook with it. You're not using it for therapeutic purposes. But for us, on our label, we actually have high lauric acid written on the label. And the only way you can do that is if you actually prove with the FDA that you do have high lauric acid, and you have to put the levels of medium chain fats on the label. So you'll see it on our label. You'll see that, it's got over 54% lauric acid and, all the levels of medium chain fat. So that's really the difference. You can actually see it.
So is that, are you guys sending out your product for testing for lab analysis?
If you look at our coconut oil underneath, it has a lot number, and you won't see lot numbers in, say, the grocery store oils. has a lot number. They're all traceable. Every single lot number comes with a COA, or certificate of analysis, where we test it for
The usual
salmonella,
stuff.
heavy metals,
Yeah.
etc., and also for the fatty acid profile. So
Yeah.
every single lot number, and
Yeah.
we keep those lot numbers in the facility for 5 years, so it's traceable. So if our coconut oil is both certified organic and non-GMO verified, they're very, very strict in terms of traceability. So if somebody orders a coconut oil from our website, whether it's a store or a person or a distributor, we know exactly what oil they're getting down to the lot number. We have to trace it.
Yeah.
So if there's anything wrong with it, or if we need to trace it for some reason or recall it, that has never ever happened. Of course,
Yeah.
we know exactly what customers have bought what oil from what lot, from what tree, from what, down to the last,
to where exactly in the farm it's made. And that's the reason why it's important to see. You're asking like the difference. That's the main difference, is the amounts of medium chain fats. But the reason why we can make therapeutic oil is really, there's 4 reasons why. The first reason is where our farm is located. It's located in a volcanic area, not in the beach.
More mountains.
Yeah, so in the mountain areas. So all of our coconut trees are in volcanic soil, which makes a huge difference.
Yes.
I mean, like when you have apples in Washington, they're different from the apples that are grown in like a different place.
Illinois.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really totally different.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why our the volcanic soil is very rich. The second reason is the how long it stays in the tree. The harvest times.
Yes.
So
it takes a year for a coconut to fully mature.
Yeah,
So
1
we
year.
don't pick them unless they are a year old. A lot of other farms and a lot of other facilities, because of money and time, they will pick them at least when they're like 6 months old. So then the full nutrients hasn't developed in that coconut. So we wait for a year to pick ours. And then when we do, the processing time is a lot shorter because the facility is on the farm. So we don't dry it up like big manufacturers will dry up coconut. We will wet mill it. We process it when it's picked and wet, at least.
So when we pick our coconuts, we process them within 4 to 6 hours after harvesting.
Wow. That's amazing.
Right there. So that's another difference why. And when we harvest the coconuts and we process it, like you grate the coconut meat. I don't know if you've ever opened a coconut, but there's this white meat. It's called kernel or meat, coconut meat. So you grate that, and it's we press it immediately, cold press it to get the oil. Because when you press coconut meat, you get coconut milk, not the oil. You get milk. It's the white milk, and then you have to separate
the milk and separate it,
the oil from the milk. It's like a 2-step process. That's how you make coconut oil. Now that's the way we make it.
Oh my gosh, can I come see the facility in January?
Yeah, you can.
I'm so excited.
That would be so cool.
You know what? If you drink fresh coconut water, which I'm sure you have, fresh coconut water from a coconut, it is night and day different from any of the Tetra Packs or coconut water you buy here.
Or even coconut milk. It's
so different.
Tastes so
unbelievable.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So that's one reason. And then the fourth and final one is the processing method. Because like Charisa said, we wet mill it, meaning we process it when it's wet. Normal for commercial size, large production sites that make coconut oil, they get the coconut, they grate it, and then they dry it.
So it's copra.
So they call that copra. So they dry it, and then they store it in these big sacks. It looks like big giant sacks of rice. And then they store it for like months. You don't know how long it's stored. And then when they're ready to make oil, sometimes they'll sell it to different facilities to make the oil. So you don't even know where the coconuts come from. So then they actually, when they're ready to make the oil, they get that coconut meat. It's called copra because it's dry. And they rehydrate it with water.
So then they press that
because it's already diluted. Then they press that, so you get milk that's diluted with water.
Right, and who knows what's in the water as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these are third world countries, and do they have filtered water?
They should be filtered.
But who knows?
Yeah.
But
especially when you're talking about a big manufacturing facility, water is a huge, costly resource.
Yes,
a lot of it is recycled.
Yeah,
with which isn't always a good thing.
When they make it in that large commercial scale, it's partially bleached deodorant, it's partially processed. So
what was the term
refined.
you used before? Refined, bleached, RB?
RBD, refined, bleached, and deodorized.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
what they usually do when it's made this way, because I mean, there might be some bacteria, there might be other things. So they do have to bleach it. They use hexane to take the oil out of the milk, because the milk has a lot of water in it because it's been rehydrated. So they use a lot of heat because they have to boil it, get rid of the water, boil it,
Separate the oil.
from the milk. So as you can see, it is completely different in the way we make our oil. So that's one of the reasons why the medium chain composition, fatty composition, is so different from our coconut oil than, different brands.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I loved hearing about that process. You have a lot of fans in the audience here too. Dee says, my gosh, what a process. I remember in South Florida, they had coconut trees and would eat them, but had no idea, that it involved all of this.
Yeah.
We have Melissa also from Four Legger, who says it's
Melissa.
USDA certified organic. And I think that's really one of the big differences between your product and a lot of other ones on the market.
Yeah.
I do see you guys, I see your questions about MCT oil and coconut oil and some personal questions about use for your dogs. I will get to those. So keep them coming, and we'll get to those towards the end of our live. Well, let's talk about that then. So coconut oil, MCT oil, are they the same thing? What's the difference?
Well, coconut oil, just for simplicity, we call it more of a full spectrum oil. So it's a blend of all medium chain fats as well as some long chain fats. So it would be at least 63% medium chain fats and 37% long chain fats. So it's a full blend, right? The main fats are, of course, lauric acid, capric, and caprylic. In coconut oil, the lauric acid is at least 53%. 45 to 53, depending on the quality of the oil.
It could be lower.
Yeah, it should be highest.
Yeah.
And then capric and caprylic acid are about 8 to 7% respectively. So it drops a lot. And the rest, there's different kinds of other fats, right? Medium chain fats, like our triplex MCT oil is the complete reverse. It's mainly medium chain fats. They strip out all the long chain fats. So it's easier to digest. It's very good for animals with lipid disorders.
So it's 94% medium chain fat versus 64% medium chain fat.
Yeah. 94 to 98. It depends. Of course, fats are, very fluid.
Yeah.
So, and then the fatty acid in MCT oil is the reverse. It has more capric and caprylic acid and less lauric acid. In fact, if you get MCT oil from like other manufacturers, they won't even put lauric acid in it. It's just capric and caprylic.
And so what's the difference in the process?
Okay, so we know that capric and caprylic acid are the smaller molecules, right? It's C8. Here, can you put her down? Sorry, here's my little dog. I think this is
are Yorkies your breed? Is that
my Yorkies are mine and Chihuahuas are Carmina's.
Okay.
I'm a Chihuahua girl. She's a Yorkie.
I feel like
girl.
I've seen you with a Yorkie every single time I see you.
What about me with a Chihuahua?
Did you have a Chihuahua when I saw you in New York at the?
I think we left him at home. We usually travel with him.
We
though.
do.
Yeah. So wait, hold on.
And I think, and just really quick, Shelby wants to say hi to Layla, who I know she's in the audience. I saw her scroll. Her mom is watching, and I think Layla's there. Say
They're
hi.
kind of semi-related.
They're half sisters.
Oh, they have sisters.
Oh.
So she's watching. Okay, so sorry.
So wait, where were we?
No,
Okay, I was asking about
fat.
MCT.
So it has capric and caprylic. So caprylic acid is C8 and capric is C10, meaning there's 10 carbon molecules or 8 carbon molecules. So these are smaller molecules, and the reason why they put them in medium MCT oil is they're absorbed faster. They're broken down
They're metabolized faster.
Yeah, because the molecules are smaller. Now, lauric acid is C12. And there's a huge debate even in the pet industry that lauric acid is not really a medium chain fat and it causes inflammation. But according to the Chemist Society of the US and all these like scientific lipid database, lauric acid is a medium chain fat. So that has 12 carbon atoms, which is a little bit bigger. So it takes a little bit longer to break down. So, which is why people will keep lauric acid out of their MCT oil. But the reason why we have lauric acid in our MCT oil, people ask this, is because while it takes longer to break down, it's converted to ketones at a slower rate. The ketone levels in your blood remain higher for longer as well.
Yeah.
Like
it's
8
more
hours.
elevated for
It's
8
elevated
hours.
longer. Whereas capric and caprylic will convert to ketones at a faster rate, but in
About
3
an hour.
hours, it's gone out of
Got
your
it.
body. It's burned off.
Yeah.
So you guys offer both straight coconut oil and MCT oil.
Yep.
Yes.
For
That's
which
right.
conditions might someone choose one over the other if they have a dog that they want to use coconut or MCT oil for?
Well, as a general rule, if people ask us what oil should I buy for my dog, if the dog is young and healthy and they're not really fighting any conditions, I would say virgin coconut oil.
Okay.
It's got more lauric acid, which is exactly what we want. That's the super medium chain fat, in my opinion. It supports a healthy immune system. It's antimicrobial, antibacteria. Lauric acid is the king, I think, of medium chain fats.
Yeah.
So I say always buy virgin coconut oil. Now, if you have a dog,
and this is for both oral and topical use,
yes,
or primarily oral? Okay.
Oral.
Both.
I mean,
Both.
we're very much oral. Like we give it to our dogs orally, and it's great for topical too, obviously, if they have wounds and scratches. But we're talking as an oral supplement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we always say I would prefer virgin coconut oil because of the amounts of lauric acid in it. Now, if they have a dog, for example, that has a lipid intolerance, they need to be in a low-fat diet, like
pancreatitis.
Yeah, or PLE, protein losing enteropathy, and they need a lower fat. I'll say use our MCT oil because it doesn't have the longer chain fats. Lauric acid is a little bit less, and it has higher capric and caprylic acid. So those are easily metabolized. So for seizures, those cross
the blood-brain barrier.
It nourishes the brain. Fat intolerance, energy. For athletic dogs,
because it provides a quick source of energy. So that's when we would recommend that. A lot of people choose it just because it's easier to use. It's always liquid, just because capric and caprylic acid stays liquid at room temperature, whereas lauric acid is solid. So, it's really just a preference. But yeah, another one is yeast. If you have a dog that's very yeasty, then you would choose the triplex MCT oil because capric and caprylic acid kills yeast.
I think
specifically caprylic acid.
Yeah.
Someone asked a question. So let me find. There it is. Okay. My dog has yeast issues and anal gland problems. Can I give her both the MCT oil and the coconut chips to help with each issue? Or do you think the coconut chips will work better for the glands than chia seeds? That's a loaded question, but it's a good one.
Yes. You can absolutely give both our coconut chips with either oils. If you have a yeast issue, I would continue to give the MCT oil orally. And the coconut chips is fiber. Because we've had questions like, is it too much? Can I give too much oil? Is it too much coconut? The answer is no, because our dried coconut chips is primarily soluble and insoluble fiber. And it helps, with a healthy gut. The insoluble fiber is broken down by our gut bacteria. It acts as a substrate, so the bacteria can eat it. So you just have a healthier gut, and then it promotes regularity for your stool. So it helps with the anal gland issues.
It bulks up their stool. Okay, I have an actual dog right here. I have to close her ears, and she has anal gland issues. I mean, really bad, especially in the garden. I mean, Chihuahuas does. She's scooting always, and she's, her anal glands are always impacted. So I had to add the coconut chips to her food, and it's helped tremendously.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never tried chia seeds. I mean, pumpkin, I felt like sometimes didn't work. It kind of gave her diarrhea. Plus, it's such a pain to open a can of pumpkin. It's just easier to sprinkle the chips, but it definitely did help her.
Yeah. And I would also add, I didn't even know you had coconut chips. I eat coconut chips. And so it makes so much sense, from that fiber aspect. But we always recommend for you, Rebecca, for anal gland issues, feeding fur on treats. I remember seeing you guys at the Healthy Dog Expo, and we had this bag of rabbit feet, and you were like, oh my God, I can't look. I can't do it. fur, which is an insoluble fiber, makes
Yeah.
a really big difference in how the body processes it. Basically, it acts as a pipe cleaner. So, Rebecca, give that a shot. Fur on treats, or even psyllium husk is another way to bulk up the stools, just like the coconut chips, because that's going to sort of bulk up the stool, so it'll get those anal glands that are right on the side and just sort of squeeze stuff out naturally.
Yeah, I do have a comment about psyllium husk though. It is, I mean, it's good. You can use it for fiber. The only thing about psyllium husk, I feel personally, I mean, I don't know how other people feel about it, because it is rich in phytic acid. It binds to trace minerals like
Sure.
zinc and iron. So a lot of people, you've heard that if you take like Metamucil or Benefiber, which is psyllium husk, not to take, at least a doctor says, don't take it when you're taking your multivitamin mineral supplement, like keep them apart from each other, because psyllium or phytic acid binds to trace minerals. It can deplete your body of trace minerals. Now, I don't know if you should be taking a whole bunch, if that affects how much, psyllium you're adding, if it's a little bit or not, because I'm not a psyllium
Or
husk
just for a temporary,
expert.
I think.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Also,
But
temporarily.
coconut fiber does not have phytic acid.
So it doesn't bind to trace minerals, which is why it's healthy for puppies and kittens as well. And like you said, fur and that type of
Will not have phytic
will
acid.
not have phytic acid. So that's my thing about psyllium husk. In my opinion, I think short term it's great, but I think long term you would have to, kind of maybe give additional vitamins or minerals.
Yeah,
or,
I think it also, that's a great point. I think it depends on the timing of when you're feeding it. I'd say for most people that use it for anal glands, it's usually an acute issue, like your dog
Yep.
starts scooting and then you're
Yeah.
like, I need to take care of this. So it's
Yeah.
not really a long-term thing, but that's really, really a good point. Dee says, using high heat, would that damage end products? I think this is for the coconut oil or the MCT oil. Because I think, and I'll just add this because I know a lot of people make golden paste, which is made from turmeric. And usually the recipe calls for coconut oil, black pepper, and a little bit of water so that the body can absorb the turmeric. But it does say that you should bring it to a simmer or a slight boil. What happens to the coconut oil when we do that?
Okay, there's two parts to that question. So the first part is the heat. Coconut oil is a saturated fat. Therefore, it's very stable. So the chances of it going rancid or breaking down with heat is a lot less than any polyunsaturated fat. It's more heat stable than, let's say, olive oil. So it does not damage the end product. I cook a lot with it. It's a great, it prevents oxidative stress because it fights free radicals. And because it's so stable, being a saturated fat, it helps, it doesn't damage, heat doesn't damage it. Now, in terms of turmeric, when you make turmeric, they usually boil the turmeric because the turmeric needs to be cooked to help it break down to be more absorbent, bioavailable. And then when they've boiled the turmeric with water, you turn off the water, it kind of cools a little bit, then you add the oil. But again, so they're not boiling it or simmering it with the oil, they just add the oil after. That's the classic way to make golden paste, but it doesn't like degrade in heat.
Okay.
Now, if there's any oil I would rather cook or bake with, it's definitely with our MCT oil or coconut oil.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have any double bonds. Any polyunsaturated or even monounsaturated fat has double bonds in it, and that's the weakest link in the fat chain. So those will break off, and that oxidizes.
Yeah.
Whereas coconut oil has such a strong fat chain, it doesn't. It's very not prone to oxidation or breaking down.
Got it. That was a great question. Thank you for that, Dee. Can you talk a little bit about some of the myths around coconut or MCT oil? I think a lot of people worry that it's just sort of a fad, right? They're like, oh, I saw someone comment that they use it for oil pulling or, toothpaste, to clean their teeth with. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, in the Philippines, it's been a fad for thousands of years then because we've used coconut oil for a long, long time. So it's a long fad. And oil pulling has been around for thousands of years. I actually oil pull.
Yeah.
So I love doing it, and I did it. I started doing it because I had migraines.
Yeah.
And
Can you talk about that process?
Yeah. So you would basically take a tablespoon of oil or less and just put it in your mouth. I do this when you first wake up. Don't even brush your teeth, right? You put it in your mouth, you relax your mouth, and you kind of swish it. You kind of swish it for 20 minutes.
It's a long
20
time.
minutes?
Yes.
She does it for 20 minutes.
I like it.
I can't do it for 20 minutes.
You don't have to. If you're starting, start 5, 10.
Well, you get jaw cramps.
No,
You're not used to
no,
it.
she does. Don't do this. Just like I said, relax the jaw. That's my note. I said, relax.
Well, you gotta be like, you can't just sit in the bathroom, right? You gotta
no. You know what I do? I get up and I put the tablespoon of oil in my mouth, and then I do my business. Go to the bathroom, take a shower, fix my hair, whatever I can. By the time, you'll be amazed how fast 20 minutes goes when you're getting ready, at least for me.
Or, well, I do is when I'm making the dog's food,
Yeah.
and then I'm putting some coconut oil in their food, I put a tablespoon in my mouth. And then while I'm doing, making their food and doing stuff in the kitchen, I'm just kind of swishing it around.
The whole point of oil pulling is our mouth is very porous inside. We have a lot of mucus glands in our mouths. So what happens is when you oil pull, you want to put her down. Looks like she wants to go down. Yeah. When you oil pull, you're actually pulling the bacteria from your mouth. Oil attracts oil, mucus and everything else. They all glom on together. So you're swishing it out and then you spit it out. So after 20 minutes of swishing, you put it out in your garbage, not in the sink, or you will clog your sink.
Good point.
Not your drain. Yeah. So and the garbage, and that's it. And you're fine. And then the whole thing is you're pulling toxins out of your body,
out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And then are we brushing our teeth afterwards?
You can. You brush later, but I just do everything, and then before I leave the house, I brush my teeth. But if you read books on oil pulling, and Bruce Fife, who is a naturopathic doctor and nutritionist for humans, has a book only on oil pulling.
I mean, it's only oil pulling.
The reason why I started doing it is just reading that book. I mean, inflammation of your joints, arthritis, you name migraines. It. Just the inflammatory things we have going on in our body. Oil pulling really helps with that.
Yeah. Now, and I know a lot of people will use coconut oil on their dogs, like when they're as part of their daily brush. If they do that.
Yeah. I mean,
I do
for all our animals, since we've had them since they were puppies, kittens. Like Shelby is 2 years old now. We give coconut oil as a very healthy, functional fat macronutrient, because it's not because she's sick or anything. Because coconut oil is actually known to be an anti-cancer oil. Coconut oil converts to ketones, which provides energy for cells. And did you know that cancer cells cannot derive energy from ketones? So it just can't grow. So it's anti-cancer. It's got anti-cancer property, anti-inflammatory properties. It helps the gut. I saw a question go up there from raw pot because lauric acid coconut oil is very antibacterial. One of the things we get is will it decimate all your gut bacteria? Because it our gut has good and bad bacteria. But I actually wrote a blog about this. It actually helps good bacteria, and it targets gram-negative bad bacteria. So it'll break those down. It's sort of like antibiotics, or pesticides, when it can target certain weeds or certain bacteria. Yeah. It's the same way. Lauric acid is found in mother's milk. It's known to build a healthy immune system in babies. So it will not decimate or ruin healthy gut bacteria. The opposite is true. It actually helps healthy gut bacteria thrive, and it kills the gram-negative bacteria.
Yeah.
So are we using MCT or coconut oil for oil pulling?
Oh, coconut oil.
I use coconut oil. You could do either.
You could use both.
Yeah.
And Amanda says, is your oil human grade? So we can use it too.
Oh, 100% human grade. The facility makes oils for humans, the chips, everything for humans.
It's all human
and
grade.
Pharmaceutical. It's us who took it and labeled it for pets.
Yeah. So it is USDA organic certified and non-GMO verified. It is human grade. And in fact, our facility doesn't make work with shellfish or wheat, soy. So it's completely just a coconut oil facility. So there's no cross contamination. It's definitely human grade.
Yeah, that's awesome. Looks like we've got the ladies from the Holistic Companion Care Network, the HCCN gals, and they are big fans of you guys.
Oh,
thank you.
We were talking about myths. Melissa says, talk about your research database. What is this that I keep hearing about?
Oh,
yeah, well, that stemmed from, we hear so many, like there's no scientific studies of coconut oil. I can't tell you if I got a dime for every time I heard that, I would be really rich, because every time I go to groups and they're talking about coconut oil, they'll say there's no scientific studies. It's all anecdotal. So until one day finally, we have to put these studies, because we see these studies and we're talking about peer-reviewed studies. So we put together, it's a sort of a compilation of all the studies that we found from 1970s to present. So it's all the studies, and it's categorized by health conditions. So this book, it's an ebook. We did it by brain health, seizures, gut health, kidney, very detailed. And all the studies are listed underneath them. It's clickable. When you click on them, it goes to the database that has these studies.
Yeah.
So this is, I think there's like 60 or 70 pages.
Yeah, I love that. I know when this happens, because I've seen you guys at other conferences. You have like veterinarians, for example, that come around and they're like, where are the studies?
Yeah,
and we have a similar handout that we're like, they're right here.
Yeah,
all in a nice little package for you.
Yeah.
So what is it that they're questioning? Like what is the myths or the anecdotal stories that we're hearing?
Well, they are questioning, first of all, the health benefits. Aside from the myths that it's damaging to you, or it causes heart disease, or those myths, that's a big one, or it causes fatty liver disease in cats, it causes pancreatitis. I mean, those are the common myths that we get about coconut oil. But the other side of the myth is it's not even healthy. Like, what are the health benefits of coconut oil? So a lot of these studies actually show the health benefits of coconut oil. Like, there was this one PhD, Dr. Kenneth Carroll. I don't know if you've heard about him. He is a Canadian biochemist, and he's actually very, very active in cancer research. And he actually he did a study that showed polyunsaturated fats in the diet were considered cancer promoting diets compared to saturated fats, which he called cancer reducing diets, because people are so afraid of saturated fats. And
they're just afraid of fats generally.
In general, yes, there's a fat phobia out there. The world has
because
turned.
In the 1970s, the nutritionists started scaring people off fats.
Yeah, and animal fats too. That's another place that we can get our energy. Our dogs especially can get their energy from animal fats, and it's just got such a bad rap when we know. And they're like, oh, let's just feed seed oils and carbs instead for energy.
Yeah, but they don't understand that a lot of the seed oils that are polyunsaturated get rancid very quickly, and there's nothing more damaging or dangerous than giving your animal a fat that's been oxidized.
Absolutely.
So oxidized fats is very, very unhealthy. In fact, it's very pro-inflammatory and causes cancer. Yep. So, I mean, and this study, he used virgin coconut oil a lot in his study because it was very stable, and it was a saturated fat that he wanted to use. So, and animals, dogs, cats can actually handle so much saturated fat, so much fat in their diet. It's not going to give them heart attacks. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, like we said, it's sort of like a reserve for their energies. They don't need carbohydrates, they don't need rice, even though, in a lot of countries, that is some of the table scraps that they'll get. They can use those natural fats as their energy source.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've mentioned this in other lives. There's this other scientist, Dr. Mark Morris, and he's a biologist, and he actually coined the term biologically appropriate food for dogs. And what he did in his study is he had domesticated and wild dogs forage for food. He had protein, carbs, and fats as the macronutrients. And he had them forage, just pick and choose whatever they want to eat. And all the dogs, both domesticated and wild dogs, would eat fat first.
Yeah.
They would gorge in fat just to feed their brains, and then they would eat protein and then carbs last. So
well, if you look at the ancestral diets of dogs before, so AFCO, if you look at their recommended like amount for fats, it's about 8 to 15%. You know, on a dry matter basis for fat for animals. But if you look at the ancestral diets, it's as high as 25 to 30% fat.
Yep.
So that's, I mean, and you look at these lean coyotes and wolves or whatever, they're not overweight and they don't have hyperlipidemia or heart disease
or
and they're thriving.
Disease. Yeah. Or pancreatitis.
Right.
Exactly. So I mean, 25 to 30% fat. That's what they say for ancestral diets for animals.
That's
pretty good. That's high. And that's actually keto, like a moderate keto diet.
Yeah.
So for our animals, like Shelby does eat a fairly high fat diet. You know, she eats her raw, but I will always put coconut oil in her food. I will also put a good fish oil in her food because they need that. That is essential. And they work together well. Yeah. I'm not afraid of giving her fat, and she gets a blood work every year. Not her second year, so her second blood work, and she's doing fabulous for her age. And same with Fiona, who is what, 10?
She's 9.
Okay, 9. Sorry, 9 years old, and she's doing great too. So fat is literally your best friend, basically for humans and animals.
I love that. I love that you said that. I put up this comment from Diane. She says, fat free is carb high. And I couldn't agree with that more.
Very true.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. And carbs turn to sugar, which feed cancer cells, on and on and on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and you know, we've had a lot of our Feed Real Summit partners on for these lives, and that just happens to be one of the things that we keep repeating over and over and over again. And why we're just like, you just got to feed real food, you know, and not anything processed, because that's really where a lot of the disease comes from. You mentioned pancreatitis, and that made me think of a question, which is, are there any dogs that shouldn't be using your product? I mean, or maybe should steer clear of coconut oil or MCT oil?
Well, okay. So in terms of pancreatitis, the reason why animals can use coconut oil or MCT oil if they have pancreatitis is because they don't need bile acids or pancreatic lipase to digest coconut oil. So medium chain fats are digested completely differently. Their metabolic pathway is completely different. For normal fats, you need chylomicron activity to bring the fat to the small intestines. It needs to burn it off. You need the pancreatic lipase, biliary acids to digest it, etc. But for coconut oil, being a medium chain fat, as soon as an animal or human consumes it, the fat gets transported to the liver through a portal vein. It is converted to ketones immediately. So you don't need the pancreatic lipase. So that is the only fat actually that an animal with pancreatitis can actually tolerate. Now, if they are extremely sensitive to fat, then we would recommend the MCT oil because it doesn't have any long chain in it, or very, very small long chain in it.
And I think back to the question, are there any animals who can't take coconut oil? I mean, the first thing I would say is if they're allergic to coconut coconut oil.
How often does that happen? Have you run into that?
It's very rare.
It's rare. I mean, we have heard of it, that where people will say that their dog got a reaction to it. They started itching. But I mean, I'm not 100% sure because they never really got a test.
Yeah.
Coconut is on the grass.
You know, it's hard to say because there's so many other factors. Environmental factors there's obviously something else that they were feeding. They didn't just have coconut oil for the entire day. There's, you know, so many different ways.
Right.
So it's very rare. I mean, if you think about the fats found in coconut oil, it is in mother's milk. And we all somewhat grew up with mother's milk. So unless somebody suddenly becomes lactose intolerant, can't handle mother's milk, that's it. But
but that would be
coconut oil doesn't even have lactose in it.
So that's not even
so it's not even the same thing.
Doesn't make sense.
So you're right. Why am I even going there? But yes, it's unless they're allergic to coconut or coconut oil,
that would be the only reason.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I see you guys sending in your questions, which basically is telling me that we're almost out of time. This is actually not a question. This is Kay, who is on our team. She's our course instructor. She says that their vet recommended MCT oil when their dog had a seizure. You mentioned that earlier, but I'd love for you to expand a little bit on that. How would that be helpful?
Well, the brain basically thrives on ketones for energy. You know, if your brain doesn't have energy, it gets into a lot of trouble. And ketones is basically easily accessible food for the brain. So, I mean, they say like cognitive issues, cognitive decline is just diabetes of the brain because they can't get energy. So when we take MCT oil, the capric and caprylic acid is converted to ketones immediately, goes through the bloodstream, goes to the brain, and it feeds them.
It crosses the blood-brain barrier.
And the lauric acid is also capable of crossing to the brain and converts to brain ketones, is what they call it. So it's very helpful with seizures. I think it just tampers down all the activity of what's going on in the brain, the inflammation. And just the other day, I posted on Facebook somebody who wrote a long review. I just loved it on how she started MCT oil pretty recently, and it literally stopped. Well, so far her seizures, but what her dog was getting, and it was getting it like what, every week or so.
We've had so many reviews come in with animals with seizures and how it's helped. But you know, frankly, there are so many studies on virgin coconut oil and MCT oil that has helped seizures. Back in the 50s, I believe, there was a doctor that used for children with epileptic seizures. And they were fed a diet high in coconut oil, high in fat, and that was the cure. I hate to use the word cure,
or management
to
of
mitigate the seizures.
That was in the 50s.
That was back in the 50s until now. The drug companies came out with drugs,
right?
You know, instead of going to natural foods. So there are so many studies right now. It's pretty amazing. Every day I feel like there's a new study that comes out with seizures and coconut oil.
We recently published an article about coconut oil and MCT oil, the benefits on cognitive decline, because there's a lot of, and I see Pod Ventures, somebody brought it up about how we're seeing healthy fats and how they're linked to Alzheimer's or the lack of fats in the diet. And it's all sort of the same thing. We're like, you just got to go back to what nature intended.
Right. There's even studies for conditions such as ADD and ADHD for kids. And I saw a whole show on this on Netflix too. They've been studied in relationship to fat deficiency. So so people that are,
you know,
so afraid of fats.
Yes.
And sometimes I wonder, you know, I mean, the prevalence of ADD, ADHD, and all the low fat this, low fat that. Granted, you want healthy fats. You don't want trans fats. You don't want, you know, hydrogenated fats. You want healthy fats. So, you know, there's a study with that relationship. So that is, again, another cognitive type of decline that's going on.
Yeah. Would have to look into that. How often can we add coconut oil to our dog's meals? Is daily too much?
Not for us. I use it daily for Shelby. And I'll just use a little bit, you know, morning, like a fourth of a teaspoon or an eighth, and then I'll put a few drops and I'll put fish oil or what other fish oil? Krill oil.
Well, for Fiona, she's allergic to fish oil. Unfortunately, I have to use other sources of omega-3 or you know, for her. But I also give her twice a day
coconut oil.
And it's just because they're so used to it. If your animal has never had it, obviously you'd be careful when you start. You'd start really slow.
Do you guys have feeding guidelines on your packaging?
We do. We do have feeding guidelines, but again, because it's not a drug, we consider it a functional food or macronutrient. So, and every animal is different, because she had a Yorkie, same size. She had 2 Yorkies, same size. One could tolerate more fat than the other, than coconut oil than the other ones. So, you know, they all
differ.
So you just scale up or down. You know, you work and see their maximum oral tolerance and how well it suits them, and then you just work from there.
Yep.
I think I got all of the questions, just doing a quick scroll to make sure. We had some really good ones. I love we talked about anal glands. We talked about seizures, healthy fats, the difference between coconut and MCT. Oh, in the heat, high heat. Wonderful, wonderful question.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know if you have an affiliate program.
We don't right now.
Yeah.
Mainly because
right
we don't have a way to manage it. But if we do one day, we'll let you know. But
Yeah.
I have a way to manage it.
You do?
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk after this live because I can let you in on
okay, because it's scary. I mean, we're constantly doing things, and numbers and managing numbers are not my thing.
I got you. I can because you've got a lot of fans here. It seems like they're out here slanging your products for you. So, can people find your product online, in stores? What's the best way?
They can go online, buy it online. They can go into a store. I mean, we're not in large box stores. Big box stores, it's mainly independent pet stores or small chains.
We have a where to buy at the bottom of our website somewhere so they can look for a store near them. But online, for sure, we're available.
Awesome. And it looks like you guys have a little promo because we are leading up to the Feed Rail Summit this October. And these ladies were kind enough to hook you up. So it looks like you can get 20% off from their website using the code RealCoco20. I love that.
Yeah. So give it a try.
Awesome. Well, this was such an informative session. We had so many great questions from the audience. Thank you guys all for tuning in. And thank you both for coming on today. We are so excited to see you this October at the Feed Rail Summit here in San Diego. You guys, if you have your tickets already, you're going to get to meet both of these lovely ladies in person. And we do have a wait list. So if you haven't got your tickets for the Feed Rail Summit, make sure you head over to the website, feedrail.com/summit. Get on that wait list because we are going to be releasing some extra tickets that we have in about a week or so.
Yay.
That's exciting.
Yeah. All right, y'all. You have a good rest of your Thursday and a wonderful weekend. We'll catch you later.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.